So yesterday, Jaire Alexander's dad, Landis Alexander, went on to ESPN Wisconsin, and he was on the show Kyle, Brust, and Nortman. And so I'll leave that whole thing linked down below if you want to check it out. But there was a good write-up on this, just sort of giving a short summary of what he said. And so I'm going to read that from Justice Mosqueda at Acme Packing Company. And then I'll give my thoughts about what Jaire Alexander's dad did have to say. So here it is from the article. After former Green Bay Packers cornerback Jaire Alexander signed with the Baltimore Ravens, Alexander's father, Landis Alexander, paid a visit to ESPN Wisconsin to set the record straight on what has happened with his son over the last year. Immediately, Landis stated that, quote, the structure of the contract was more of the problem than the money, end of quote. When he was asked if Jaire would have stayed with the Packers had the team handed him the same one-year, $4 million offer with $2 million in incentives, Alexander replied, yes. So if the Packers offered the same deal the Ravens did, Jaire would have happily accepted it. So hearing that, I was a little bit surprised, to be honest, because I think the Ravens got a steal with this deal, even with Jaire's injury history. Because let's say go south, he didn't play a single game, $4 million in the NFL. I mean, that's not a crazy amount of money in the NFL when you have like a, $250 plus million salary cap and maybe close to 280 now. So it's like if things went south, I don't think you're losing that much. Now, if you're paying him $15 million, that's a different story, but $4 million, base is very reasonable. And so the Packers did not even offer that. I think that would have been a no-brainer in my mind for the Packers to make that offer. But I think that shows you just how much the Packers don't want to have to deal with the injury concerns. And I understand it if you're Brian Gutekunst. He's publicly said that was the problem, the injuries. I just think that, if you can get Jaire for $4 million, $6 million with incentives, if he came back and does stay healthy, I mean, that is a crazy value because I still think he's, 28 years old. He still should be playing really solid football. He was before the injury. Now, maybe they also have concerns about will he be back to his normal self after this injury. That could be a concern. And so I get that the Packers, they want to allow the corners that they have a lot of faith in, Carrington Valentine, Keyshawn Nixon, Nate Hobbs. I understand wanting them to take the first team reps because let's say Alexander comes in at that offer if the Packers had given it to him, plays all training camp with the ones, which potentially pushes Carrington Valentine out of the starters maybe. Then let's say Alexander gets injured during the year. Carrington Valentine starts anyways. Then it's like he didn't have all that time with the starting defense to really get acclimated and just get prepared for the season. So I get the concern about the injury. I just think at $6 million, even if he made all that money, I would if I was a Packers GM, I'd totally offer him that deal. So that's sort of my opinion there. But then it continues in the article. So why does contract structure matter in this case? First of all, Landis claimed that, quote, all the money, end of quote, in the Packers deal came in the form of week-to-week roster bonuses. As long as Alexander played these games, the cash flow wouldn't be too different than a player's salary, game checks, but this money would be taken off the table had he missed time with injury. On top of that, salary for vested veterans is guaranteed if they are able to make the Week 1 roster, while roster bonuses aren't. So even non-guaranteed salary converts to guaranteed salary for veterans who make the final roster. But a roster bonus structure was one way Green Bay could have worked around that roster mechanic. This true week-to-week option for the Packers would have also turned Alexander into a much more appealing asset, one who could have been traded or even released at midseason without any extra dead cap associated with the move. Landis believes that Green Bay ultimately wanted to trade him rather than have him play out the season. If this is the case, Alexander, presuming he didn't get the team to agree to the hyper-rare no-trade clause, wouldn't have been able to control where he ended up landing. And so it looks like from Landis Alexander that there basically wasn't really any guaranteed money. It was all in the roster bonuses, and so the Ravens gave him some more security in that regard, and so I see why he would pick that as opposed to not getting any kind of security. And I'd watched the interview, and his dad was just discussing, with the level of player that he is, he understands that he would make a lot less money because of the injury concerns. He brought that up. He totally understood it. But at the same time, he was making the point that, Jaire still has been such a successful player, and he still deserves some more guarantees than what the Packers offered him, which I think is totally reasonable. But I could hear from the whole interview that it sounds like Jaire wanted to stay in Green Bay. It sounds like he loves the Packers and the teammates and stuff. But unfortunately, the Packers didn't really seem to want him back that badly if they weren't willing to offer, what the Ravens offered. And then finally here, in the article, it says, beyond just the contract details, Landis also stated that the Buffalo Bills were the team that went the furthest with the Packers in trade talks. He then mentioned that, quote, had the team taken Alexander's injury seriously, end of quote, the cornerback would have been back to play in the postseason this year. According to Jaire's father, Alexander's PCL injury recovered on the projected timeline, but it was later discovered that previous injuries stressed by the 2024 PCL injury led to issues in the recovery process. It's Landis' belief that had the team scoped Alexander's knee earlier, everyone involved would have been made more educated on Jaire's knee issue, and he could have returned to the field in 2024. Instead, Alexander played just 10 snaps after Week 8. So that's a pretty bold claim, basically saying the Packers didn't take his injury seriously. If they would have, he would have come back sooner. And, I don't exactly know what went down there. I don't know, what the Packers process is there. I assume that if they thought there was a problem, they would have done something. So, I don't know. It's a bold claim there. I don't have many thoughts on that because I don't exactly know the entire situation with what the Packers internally thought about Jaire's injury. But now Jaire's on the Ravens. It's unfortunate that he had to leave Green Bay. It sounds to me like Gutekunst is very confident in this cornerback room. I think the addition of Nate Hobbs was a great signing. And I'm not that concerned about the corners. I think that the Packers would have been better if Jaire was here, especially at potentially $6 million. I think that would be an easy contract in my mind to sign him to. It sounds like his dad also thought they could trade him even if they signed him to that deal because another team could then be interested because his other salary was about $17 million. So I get a team not wanting to pay $17, but I would have paid $6 to Jaire easily. I thought maybe the kind of offer the Packers would have given to Jaire was maybe like $12 million instead of the $17 because of the type of player he's been. But clearly he's valued way less because of those injuries. I just think at $6 million, with the Ravens giving him those incentives up to $6 overall, if he stays healthy, that deal is going to be, that's a crazy good deal for the Ravens to get in that situation. So I honestly hope Jaire stays healthy. I wish him nothing but the best. I want to see him find success with the Ravens. It's unfortunate he had to leave Green Bay. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And if you want more Packers content, feel free to subscribe. We have about 1 month till training camp, and I'll be making a lot of videos until that point, and I will be giving my thoughts, as always, during camp as we see the different reports coming out. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.